Human. You've always thought highly of yourself and you figured out a way of knitting a pompous purpose to your own skin. Almost as if human isn't an all too straight word imbued with the connotation. Man is simply an animal belonging to the genus homo. And needless to say, the more ignorant you were of the world beyond your own and the mind-shaming natural ingenuity of the sheer magnitude of the universe, the easier it became for you to believe there was something of unique value to your own existence. When in actuality, you could just be one among the many. A strand engineered by natural selection that branched off on a different genetically modified pathway on the course of the evolutionary trail of speciation to a point where you locomotively adapted to put bipedalism to use. But I can grant you that maybe you could just be one among the many. One among the many, a select few with large brains and rare ability to communicate by way of intelligent social patterns. And with that came your construction of transcendent archetypal stories which to a large degree were merely manifestations of your fear, uncertainty of death, and your sinister dread for nihilistic confusion, a fear that I share. A fear that's gonna wreck my chest to pieces on my deathbed, but I'm just not one to postulate a hypothesis that is consoling but unable to stand erect in the face of intelligent discourse and fair criticism. Largely because for folks like me, our honesty always outpaces our fear, and the sheer uncertainty of an experience, if at all real, none of us can concretely tell of. But if you're yapping and screaming that you are somewhat justified in doing so due to the fact that you were once graced with an occurrence alienated to most of us, chances are that you're an ignoramus on a gigantic scale, backing up a phantasmagoria, because it's highly unlikely that you experience something with the potential that can rubbish natural laws, you bloody liar. Why not spare a minute or two to sit back and implore the French philosopher Descartes' meditation style, and you realize David Hume was right, and there's absolutely nothing awe-striking you experienced. You just simply did a 10-0 on yourself, and snap, it came at a great cost. Human. You need to understand that untangling the rainbow and giving it its honest natural explanation doesn't take away its beauty. It's simply an aid to help you realize, as in the words of Brian Cox, rainbows are natural phenomena. To see one is to marvel at a simple but beautiful property of light. The basis of our modern understanding was delivered by Isaac Newton, who observed that white light is split into component colors when passed through a glass prism. He correctly surmised that white light is made up of light of all colors mixed together. The physics behind the production of a rainbow is essentially the same as that of the prism. Light from the sun is a mixture of all colors, and water droplets in the sky act like tiny prisms splitting up the sunlight again. Isn't that beautiful? I mean, the point is, isn't it enough to see that a garden is beautiful without having to believe there are fairies at the bottom of it too? And that is not to say we have in haste cunningly killed those fairies. We are simply learning to outgrow the Nietzschean fear of the edge of reason and done more than prove we are human. All too human. Alright, so I would just like to extend a token of gratitude to the Institute of the Academy of Secular Thought and their effort put into the fact that they saw to it that this poem has been published. And in conclusion, I would just like to read this quote from Darwin, who said that, "Thus, from the war of nature, from famine and death, the most exalted object which we are capable of conceiving, namely the production of the higher animals, directly follows. There is grandeur in this view of life, with its several powers, having been originally breathed into a few forms or into one, and that whilst this planet has gone circling on according to the fixed laws of gravity, from so simple a beginning, endless forms, most beautiful and most wonderful, have been and are being evolved."